Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Corby. We're back at it again today with a new video, and I'm recording kind of late at night. I actually just got done off of stream, and I actually wanted to have this video out, well, technically yesterday, I guess, but I'm just gonna do it today. I was really busy yesterday, and I was working on a bunch of shit, and I fucking forget that now every time I open Halo Infinite, it decides to open up as a full-scale application for God knows what reason. Or it opens like a fucking a window tab. Why are we doing that? But that's not the topic of today's video. Today's topic is something that I've actually been wanting to talk about, and it actually kind of became more of a a thing worthwhile to talk about due to the announcement of the PS5 Pro. Also, I am fixing the screen, so if it looks weird for a second, I'm deeply sorry. I'm just trying to fix it so it looks better. But due to the release of the PS5 Pro, I am kind of getting more and more worried for a certain thing that I really care about when it comes to gaming. And I just, well, if you all know me, you can look right over here and you can see that I collect physical media. I'm a big fan of collecting CDs. I'm a big fan of collecting video games. I'm actually trying to regrow my entire video game collection. I lost most of my collection years ago whenever I moved out of my dad's house, and I just never knew what happened to it. So I've been trying to slowly regrow that over the years, and I'm a huge fan of keeping physical copies. There's a lot of reasons for that. The main one and the biggest one to me is, well, if I have a physical copy of it, no matter what happens to that game, I can always play it. If y'all don't know, with a physical copy of the game, you have version 1.0 of it right there. Actually, for some of the people who may not remember this, and I'm curious if some of you do, it was a big thing back in the Black Ops 2 era of Call of Duty. I know I'm not playing COD, but it actually is a bit of a conversation that I've been wanting to have that involves COD in a weird fucking way. If y'all were there whenever Black Ops 2 came out, you would remember that there was two things in the sniping community that you could do in Black Ops 2 whenever it first dropped. One, there was the pre-patch DSR-50. If y'all remember back in the day when the Black Ops 2 dropped, the ballista was not the sniper that people used. It was that big boy, the DSR-50. Consistent one-shots and had basically the same speed as the ballista. It was fucking insane. Two, for the trick shotters out there, y'all remember what floaters were? I doubt you do because they're not a thing anymore. Back in the day on Black Ops 2, if you got a kill mid-air, your character would just float. And it looked cool for trick shotting specifically. And they patched that. It was just not a thing in the game anymore after they patched the DSR. And I specifically remember that I missed going for floaters so much that I actually used to put my disc in, delete the update so I could go play version 1.0 and still go for floaters. Just because it was such a cool thing that only that game, like, it wasn't the only game that had it. But it was something just unique, and it was something cool to go for, and I would just load up bot lobbies and go trick shot because it was super fun. And I just like doing it because I like to have the version 1.0 of a game. I still have my original collector's edition of Gears of War 1. It is not in good condition because of how much I moved around as a kid. That's beside the point. But I still have it, and I'm never going to get rid of it because it's just a piece of gaming history to me. And in the world that we live in now, I really get worried with how games are going to be treated. I mean, we've recently seen it with a game like Concord that was supposed to be a massive title, and all of a sudden it didn't sell well. And you know what they're doing? They're just shutting it down. So people who even enjoyed that game and wanted to play it, despite it having a low population, are just no longer allowed to play it, which is an issue to me with gaming. Because I do look at gaming like I do with music, for example, as a art form. And I don't think art forms should just die out. But it's actually a huge reason why, despite my conversations I've had about the state of MCC, it's one thing I'm really happy that it just exists. Of course, I have all the original Halos. I have the original trilogy, except Reach is the only one I don't have currently. I need to go buy a copy. But I do have the original trilogy on disc for all the original consoles. And here's the thing. The reason I love MCC so much is it gives people the opportunity to go back and play those games in a different form because, of course, on Halo 1 and 2, and I think now 3 as well, these servers just aren't active. They just are shut down, but you can still boot in your copy of Halo 3 and you can play as a LAN party, and you can also still play campaign, which is great. And imagine that if they didn't make the MCC, you would no longer be able to access those games digitally because there's nothing to go off of. The servers are down and they're dead. Or if they decided to take them off the stores, you can no longer access those games. So having a disc is actually super fundamental to me as a gamer. To me, it's just something that I love having because I will always have the ability to play it. While I do buy a lot of games on a digital storefront, if it's a game that I truly love a lot, I will go out of my way to buy a physical copy. And I have a lot. And I will say this, for the people who grew up in the era that I did, back on the PS2, Xbox, Xbox 360 era of games, I will agree, it's hard to collect some of those games from your childhood. A lot of them are so fucking expensive, it's actually damn near impossible to get your hands on them. For example, if you all know me, I am a huge fan of the Silent Hill series. They've been one of my favorite horror series since I was a kid. But getting games like Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, and even 4 are damn near impossible unless you're looking to spend $200 to $300 on them. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I think it is because physical media has become a very sought after thing in recent years because it's starting to become a less sought after thing. The people who really care about it want it. And I do think more people should want physical media because it always ensures that you have that. It's actually a big reason why I started collecting CDs more than anything was I just liked having them because, well, one day, who fucking knows? I could open up my phone one day, go to Apple Music, and all of my fucking music could be gone. But if I own a CD, I can pop it into a CD player and just listen to it whenever. Sure, the audio quality isn't going to be as good as it would be through Apple Music because of the systems that they use and the production style that goes into making an app like Apple Music and makes it great, but I can still have access to it. It's just a big thing to me. And I think more people need to talk about the whole issue with something like, for example, the PS5 Pro coming out. And, I'm not a PlayStation guy. I never really have been, and that's actually nothing against PlayStation necessarily. It's just they have IPs now that I don't give a shit about. And all the old IPs that I liked are on PS3 era, and they just no longer do anything with those. And I'm talking about like Resistance and Killzone and stuff like that. Most of the newer IPs, they're not my thing. I just don't really care that much. They don't appeal to me, and I'm totally okay with that. But I know that everybody, anytime a new system comes out, they always look forward to the console or the upgraded version of that console that'll come out later down its line. So, for example, the PS5 Pro. $700 for a console that doesn't even have a fucking disk drive is actually mind-boggling to me. Because to me that shows that they're willing to charge you more for a console with less, which is actually just batshit insane to me. There's the argument people make, oh, just build a PC. Of course, people can't afford to build a PC, and I will say that you could probably build a pretty okay-ish PC with some cheaper like cases and stuff like that for around $700, but that's really not what most people are going for. It's not going to be nearly as consistent, and that's kind of the issue. Of course, if you have the thousands of dollars to spend on a PC like I did, then you should do that. I would recommend it. Especially if you're looking to learn about gaming and you're learning about these things that come with having a PC, because there is a lot more than just plugging it in and playing it. You need to learn how to clean a PC. You should probably learn like how BIOS works, how your system actually functions at a like fundamental level. It does help a lot. And even then, like I'm not even gonna like I know the most because I don't. I'm learning stuff every fucking day about the things. It's a lot of information. But people do play on consoles because it's, well, just readily available. All they have to do is walk into their living room or walk over to their desk and turn it on and it's good to go. Also, it's taking forever to get a game. But I don't really give a shit. I just really, really want to talk about this. But the whole thing with like, oh, you have to pay extra now to get a disc drive kind of sets in motion more that we are trying to switch to digital only storefronts, and I think that's really bad. And even places like Best Buy don't even really have a game section anymore. There are some Best Buys you will find that have a small one, but any of the ones I've been to near where I live don't have any or have a very, very small one. And then places like GameStop are going out of business. And luckily here where I live currently in Knoxville has a lot of really cool places when it comes to buying physical copies of games. They're just not as readily available as they used to be. And I mean, I still look back on the era of midnight releases because I remember going to them as a kid. And I remember how special those were. I remember going to GameStop at midnight and picking up that game and having a bunch of people who were just as interested as you picking up that game. And I will say that since that era has been gone, there has been so much discontent in the gaming community when it comes to like a community level. It didn't matter what you played. You all were just there to get the game that you were most excited about. And that created a type of hype that is just unmatched. You would meet friends that you would be talking to who would have the same interest as you. And I feel like that's actually really gone, but that's not really the point of this video. I've talked about that plenty in like depth about how my issues with the gaming community is that I feel like we've become less of a community and more of just hobbyists, and there's people who get really elitist about like hobbyists, and of course elitism has always existed in gaming, and to a degree I think it is okay, but it's not okay all the time, especially for people who are trying to get into it. And I don't know, I just really don't like the divide that we've created ourselves as gamers, because I remember being a kid and getting into all this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is just the coolest thing to me because I get to immerse myself in a world that's not real life. I get to play these cool characters that I love, such as, well, the Master Chief in Halo, or Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War, or shit, Nathan from Uncharted, or Nathan from Resident Evil, or from Resistance 2. There's just so many cool things about games that I absolutely love, and I feel like without having those digital or physical releases, it creates this like weird divide with games where, well, if these companies just want to shut them down because, well, that's what we're seeing more and more often now because gaming has become such a huge marketplace, it may become something that places or teams think about more of, like, well, people just don't want to play this, so let's shut it down. And I've actually talked about it in depth with Halo Infinite about how I actually get extremely worried about what will happen with Infinite once the next Halo comes out. Are they just going to completely abandon it and say, yeah, fuck it, we're just going to shut down servers and not care about it? What are we going to do? What is going to happen to a game that, despite its issues, I love dearly? I mean, I started making content on this game because I just had so much fun with it, and I still play it every day. I mean, I literally just got done streaming it, and I'm already back over here on it to make this video because it's something that is important to me. And I think those things should be talked about. Now, of course, if you're not a physical media collector, you're probably not going to care, but if you are a preservationist, and shout out to people who do emulation and who make those things, because, trust me, you are doing a great job. If you think emulation is pirating, you are stupid. There are games that I would never have been able to play again if it wasn't for emulation, and I am forever grateful for that. Specifically, games that I grew up playing, like, for example, I'm actually thinking about doing a playthrough on the game Prey from 2006, which is one of my favorite games ever. I love that game. And unfortunately, we never got a sequel for that game, and it kind of became just a form of abandonware. And I'm very happy that, you know, because of emulation, I now have the ability to download that game and play it again. There's a lot of games that'd be lost to time if we didn't have that ability, because people care enough to be like, well, hey, this is an art form. I'm preserving this because I care about it. And I love that. And I think that's one of the great things. And I do hope people learn that, well, first of all, emulation is not pirating. It's just not. These companies, especially these big companies that make these games, typically don't give a shit about what you want. It's basically what brings them the most money and also saves them the most money at the same exact time. And that's not necessarily always a good thing, because that causes us to lose amazing games, and I don't like to see that. There's a lot of games that I love from my childhood that, without things like emulation, I'd probably never be able to play again, and I'm so happy that I can, because, well, I just like playing video games. That's just one of my favorite things in the world. It's what I do every single fucking day. Like, I just, listen, do I care if I barely go outside? No. Do I care if I get to play my video games at least a couple hours a day? Yeah, I care about that. I don't give a shit. It's what I like doing. That's what I've liked doing since I was a kid. It's not gonna change. I'm sorry, it wasn't a phase for some fucking reason. But overall, this mostly isn't a video to argue or anything, but it's just stating my worries, and I do want to know, what do people think about it? What do you all think about the state that gaming is going down with the possibility of losing things like physical copies? And I will say, there's still places that you can get physical copies from online, such as limited time runs. You should go check out that site if you care about limited time game or games that are on a physical release. If you care about that, if you care about collecting, if you care about just having it to have it, I do recommend checking that site out. They got a lot of really cool shit. They do a lot of really cool stuff with every release that they do, so you probably should go check it out. It is definitely something that I recommend. But other than that, I do want to know, what do you all feel about the current state of games becoming more digitally marketplace focused over having the traditional release? And with that, I think that's where I'm going to end this video. And yeah, later.